to be valued to up to 4.7 million rand. One of the main items, a study of Madiba's hands inked by his granddaughter Ndikela, sold for 236,000 rand. A portion of the proceeds going to the Liliesleaf Trust and another foundation in the name of Mandela's granddaughter Thembekile. Well, to discuss, we're joined by memorabilia specialist at auctioneers Stephan Welz and Co, Savo Tufegdzic. Thank you for joining us, Savo. You have a very difficult surname. What was the total haul last night?
If I'm honest, we did something like 1.6 million,
okay.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but I was very happy with that, because if I looked at the items that actually did sell, they were the items that I would have wanted to sell.
All right.
And they went to collectors. Actually, more than I personally expected.
Okay.
As an auction house, you have a kind of estimate that you work towards, but a lot of the items you're not sure if they're going to sell. You kind of hope for certain items to sell. And when you start averaging all of that out and you look, you must remember, this was the first time we've ever done anything like this. It's not, as an auction house, you tend to do art, you tend to do jewelry, painting, stamps, all sorts of other things. It's the first time that you've had a dedicated Nelson Mandela Memorabilia auction, just to one person.
Well, was it very widely advertised? And I have heard that a lot of people actually stay away from things like this. They think they can't afford it, when in fact they could have, perhaps.
Well, you've hit on something, because I remember the email that I got from you guys. It said, talking about investment in Mandela Memorabilia, and I kind of thought, that's not a good topic, because Nelson Mandela Memorabilia is not an investment, it's a collectible. And I always say, when you start looking at items like Nelson Mandela Memorabilia, there is so much of it on the market. We should be collecting it from the heart. There's two types of collectibles. When you collect from the head, it's business, because you're thinking of it as a business. You say, I'm buying this painting because it'll appreciate over years, etc., etc. When you're buying from the heart, you're buying because you want it. There's something about it that appeals to you. You want to keep it. You want to hand it down to your children, your grandchildren. And what we want with Nelson Mandela Memorabilia is we want it to fall into the collectibles, the heart category, because we want family members to pass it down from family to family to family, not just turn around and say, I'm buying it because I'm going to make some money at the end of the year.
So it won't necessarily make a lot of money in future, but something worthy to have.
When it comes to collectibles, it's very difficult to say what makes money and what doesn't. If you analyze all the different areas, from stamps, coins, art, and things like. If you start talking in that area, what I really want to get people to understand with Nelson Mandela Memorabilia is that if we start collecting it from the heart, we start understanding the man. Our attitude towards why we do certain things changes. And this is what Nelson Mandela Memorabilia should be about. It's about us and why we do certain things. We start looking at what he's done as a person, how he changed this country, and then we start questioning, can we do the same thing? And it becomes a different type of area. I don't want to say it's going to grow and it's going to make you money, or it's not going to make you money. Obviously, if you've got a very unique piece, it will appreciate as years go by. If you have something that there's 500 copies of, then no, it won't appreciate because there are 500 copies on the market.
Well, there was a mix.
Yes.
These things not owned by Madiba, but some things he had signed, for instance, a FIFA World Cup ball and an Invictus poster. Did those sell?
Yes.
And where do they come from?
A lot of, the first 20-odd lots came from the Liliesleaf Trust, and from Ndikela Mandela, from the family.
They've been collected.
They were collected, and they were brought to us to raise money for those organizations. Then, for example, we got 3 covers that were given to us. 2 of them were signed by Nelson Mandela, and they came from the St. John's Order. And that money then went back to St. John's Order. A lot of private collectors who have been collecting over the years, as a collector, you tend to change your collecting habits. You decide, okay, I don't want to do coins anymore, I want to do paintings. So I'd rather have Mandela paintings. So you say, I'll sell the coins so I can buy paintings. It becomes this whole, where you exchange an energy, and you kind of move one thing because you want to change what you're collecting. The one thing you did, you mentioned Mandela's signature. The beautiful thing about Nelson Mandela, and something I really appreciate about him, and he must have thought about this, I'm sure, in his presidency, is he signed a lot of items. In doing that, he's allowed every South African to participate in owning a piece of him. And that, for me, is something amazing.
That is nice. So the value isn't huge because there are lots of signed copies. But I like the way you're putting it. Well, what about the pictures? Because these are just pictures of Madiba. I presume that anybody's allowed to paint him. So how do you pick which ones get sold at auction?
It's very difficult. Obviously, I do work with the painting department at Stephan Welz, and I kind of get their input because my specialty is more on his signature, stamps and coins and other areas. And you kind of look at something that has an appeal. And for me, the one painting that did very well was the young artist Ruzi, her portrait charcoal sketch of him, which we sold for 130,000. That for me is must be one of the most capturing, stunning pictures ever done of him. And I really wish this artist success in her future, and I hope that she continues painting portraits like this, because it really was an amazing. That was very easy for me to choose. I fell in love with it. I looked at the painting. So I'm, I suppose as an auctioneer.
Sounds like you were sad to auction it off.
I was sad, but it's in my head and heart all the time, and I've got a copy of the picture. Obviously we had to take a picture of it so we could send out, so I will keep that. But I get to choose what appeals to me sometimes. As an auctioneer, you work differently. Sometimes something appeals to you, and if it makes sense to you, and in your heart you feel it's right, and you get proven right when it sells.
Does she benefit from that, the artist, and then I believe some proceeds still go back
Yes.
to the foundation and to
Yes,
Liliesleaf, the trust. Just explain what they're about as well.
Liliesleaf, obviously that's the Liliesleaf Trust that's set up by Nicholas Walpy. They gave us 3 items. We did a charity auction for them a couple of weeks ago. There's a partnership between them and the Scoin Group, and they released a Liliesleaf Rabonia 10 coin. Medallion coin that we auctioned off at Liliesleaf. Based on that auction, we said we would try and put some items onto this auction to raise more money for them. As far as I understand, Nicholas, they have a lot of different projects that they do at Liliesleaf. It's also trying to resuscitate Liliesleaf because of the history that centers around Liliesleaf and what happened there with the Ravonia trial. They have an educational trust where they put bursaries together for students. So it was nice to know that some of the proceeds of what we did yesterday was actually going towards them. The International Mandela Trust, the trust that she set up, she does a lot of projects in the Eastern Cape, and a lot of it involves around young girls in school and setting up a hostel and making sure that they do go to school and things like that. And that for me is also amazing, because she's trying to continue the legacy of her grandfather. And when you have those types of projects that you hear about, you want to get involved, and you try and find ways of accommodating them. So as an auction house, we were able to. Also, what was amazing about Ndikela is that she actually donated most of the pieces. The Ruzi's painting she donated, the handprint study, that came from her. A lot of the pictures came from her. So she was willing to part with those.
Which is
is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. This has been lovely. Thank you for joining us. That was Savo Tufegdzic from Stephan Welz and Company. Well, for more